I am continuing a video, an inductive Akkadian grammar on the prologue of Hammurabi. We have done the epilogue, so I've been slowly trying to work through the prologue. And what I'm trying to do is an inductive study of the grammar, looking at each word grammatically as we're working through it. And I'm giving it a very literal translation, trying to follow word by word, as well as then giving the grammar as we go along. I would like to say that the transcription that I am following is from Borger, the Babylonisch Assyrisch Leserstück. And basically, this is a standard work, and I really appreciate his tremendous work that he did. It's written, of course, in German, but it's wonderful, and I appreciate it so much. And I use that as the work that I work from. Then I normalize it, giving my own normalization from the transliteration that he has, and or the transcription, I should say, and then followed by transliteration and normalization that I seek to do. And a little bit about my background. I did my Acadian study in my PhD work. I had a number of years, well, actually in my master's from the Dropsy College in Philadelphia, we did Akkadian grammar, and my major there was Hebrew Bible, and then going on to New York University for my PhD. And this was back in the 80s, where I did my work in the Hebrew Bible and ancient Near Eastern languages. So during this period, I had Akkadian as part of my PhD work. Where I'm at today, I am really retired. I have been a professor of Old Testament, an Old Testament chair at a seminary here in Ohio. And I was there at Weinbrenner Seminary for about almost 20 years, working primarily with seminary students in basically introductory Hebrew and biblical Hebrew studies, at least from the English Bible. And so at this time in retirement, I'm having a challenge to keep myself growing in Akkadian, and it really has been a challenge to go back to what I learned. I taught really in the seminary, I only had, and it's not even an elective, several students wanted me to help them with it, and we did. I think we did one course in Akkadian, and that was it. So this is my own work, and I would welcome any correction that anyone would like to give me, because I'm in the process of still learning. I don't want to stop growing. Let me just say this, that the translation that I think is a wonderful translation is from the ancient Near Eastern text by Meek, who does a wonderful job in the prologue, epilogue, and the laws of Hammurabi. And I would like to just read his translation of the verses that are the lines that we will be working in. When lofty Anu, king of the Anunnaki, and Enlil, lord of heaven and earth, the determiner of the destinies of the land, determined for Marduk, the firstborn of Enki, the Enlil functions over all mankind, made him great among the Igigi, called Babylon by its exalted name, made it supreme in the world, established for him in its midst an enduring kingship, whose foundations are as firm as heaven and earth. At that time, Anu and Enlil named me to promote the welfare of the people. Me, Hammurabi, the devout, God-fearing prince, to cause justice to prevail in the land, to destroy the wicked and the evil, that the strong might not oppress the weak, to rise like the sun over the black-headed people, and to light up the land. Those are the lines that I am going to deal with. And I think before we actually get started, it would be good to have a brief introduction to the different gods that we're talking about in this prologue, beginning prologue. One of the things I've noticed, different from the epilogue, is that Hammurabi names a lot of the different gods. And so one can learn quite a bit about the theogony, and not only the theogony, but I should say the gods that were part of Hammurabi's world. Let me just say, first of all, we have Anu, and we just read about him, which is the sky god, supreme god of the pantheon, spouse of Antu, father of Adad, Enlil, Ishtar, and Nisaba, and his temple was at Uruk. By the way, I'm getting this help, this information, from a work that has helped me a lot. It's called an Acadian Handbook, and I appreciate this very much. It is a short handbook that gives a lot of information, not only verbal paradigms, but it has a wonderful glossary of different names that open up and help one to understand. And I would recommend this book very highly, an Acadian Handbook by Douglas B. Miller and R. Mark Shipp. And so this was on page, what I just quoted was up on page 45 of that book. Enlil is another reference that we need to learn, is the storm god, the lord of the wind, the chief god of Sumerian pantheon, city of the god of Nippur, son of Anu, and conferred Elilship, that is, deity rights, onto other gods, as did Anu. This is on page 50 of that same work. Marduk was the patron god of Babylon. In the creation epic, he reorganizes the cosmos, placing Babylon at the world's center. This is on page 58, Marduk. I did a few lines of the introduction to Enuma Elish, and that piece of, let's say, that literary piece has Marduk as the one reorganizing the cosmos. Then Ea, also known as Enki, E-N-K-I, is the father of Marduk, god of wisdom, associated with water and creation, patron of artisans, and protector of the persecuted. That's on page 49 of this same work. The Igigi are called, are a collective name for the major gods of heaven. This is on page 58. And Bel is a title of various gods, later synonymous with Marduk. And then finally, Shamash, and we'll see that in these lines, is the Babylonian sun god, probably a goddess, a patron of truth and justice, and also divination. This is on page 66 of the same work. So with that introduction to the gods, I thought that would be good. I wouldn't have to explain each god as we come to them. Another source that helps in the identification of the gods, again, would be Meek's work in the translation in ancient Near Eastern text. In the prologue, he also does a commentary explaining the different gods. So what I'd like to do now is begin. I've already done some work in the prologue, and I'd like to review it and then pick up some new lines as we move on. And I've been having fun with this. It's been a lot of work working through the dictionary and also trying to bring back my grammatical understanding of Akkadian. When I do the translation, I'm going to do it word by word, which will be the literal translation, and try to explain each word grammatically. My hope and thought is that somebody might enjoy going through this like I'm enjoying it and pick up grammar inductively. My personal love is inductive grammatical study. I do that in Greek and Hebrew, especially on my YouTube, Dr. Gary Stats, on my YouTube. I do quite a bit of inductive Hebrew and Greek grammar from on that site, on that channel. So let's begin. We begin, and I'm following the first part of this prologue. By the way, in terms of the transliteration, I would encourage anyone to go online and find it. There's a number of places you can find it. I was just checking them out. If you go to Google or Google Books, you can find the transliteration in a number of places. So if you wanted to follow me there, that would be good. And there would also, I'm sure, be normalization in some of those places as well. So and someday I may have it typed out and put up, have someone put it up for me. But we begin, Inu anum serum shar Anunnaki dinger inlil bel shameh. Let me just stop there. U ersetim sha'im shimat ana Marduk. Let me just go back and start on line 1. And I'm using, again, Borger's, the way he is outlining it, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. So, enu anum serum would be when Anum, exalted. That is, when Anum, remember that's the sky god, leader of the pantheon, again, worshipped in the temple of Ianna in Uruk, or Inanna. So when Anum, notice serum. Serum means exalted. Here we have an adjective, and notice it's in the nominative case. So when Anum, exalted, Shar, Dinger, Anunnaki. Notice Shar is from Sharum, and here we have, it means king. Here it is in construct with the Anunnaki. Notice Anunnaki are lesser gods who served Anum. And so here we have Shar in construct with king of the Anunnaki. Anunnaki is in the genitive case. We know this by the I ending. Then Dinger Elil, and we would say en Enlil. Notice here we have capital E-N dot capital L-I-L, which was the Sumerian for Elil in Akkadian. Elil is the storm god worshipped in the temple of Ekor. So when we're told Anu, the king of the Anunnaki, and Elil, Bel Shammai, that is, Lord of Heaven. Notice here, Bel means Lord. It is from Baalum, and again, we knock off the here, and we have it in construct from Baalum, meaning Lord. Lord Shammai of heaven. Notice Shammai is your genitive singular, meaning heaven, or genitive here, Shammai, Lord of heaven. And my mind is in Hebrew thinking Shamayim. There's a very, can I say, close cognate parallel, I believe, to Hebrew. So Lord of heaven. And then notice again, following this, U et setim, heaven and of earth. Notice here, U is the conjunction and, like ve in Hebrew, and et setim is the word earth. Notice et setu is the Akkadian, meaning earth, and here we have it in the genitive singular, in im. So Lord of heaven and earth. And then we go on, Sha'im. Sha'im means the one who determines. Determines here is from the root shi'amu, and it means to fix or decree, determine by a decree. And here we have a participle, a G participle, masculine singular, from shi'amu, the verb to fix or decree. So the one who determines. Then the next line, Shemat Matin. Shemat is the destinies, Matim would be of the land, or the fates of the land. Notice Shemat is from Shimtu, it means destiny, and Matim is the genitive singular, notice the im ending, from Matu, meaning land. So the one who determines the destinies of the land. Ana Marduk, for Marduk, or to Marduk. Notice here, Ana is the preposition, and Marduk is the god that basically, we had said, reorganizes the earth or the world in the in Enuma Elish. He is the patron god of Babylon. And in the creation epic, like we said, he reorganizes the cosmos. placing Babylon at the world's center. And so Hammurabi is referring to him here for Marduk. And then in the next line, Marim Reshtim. Notice Marim would be the son, Reshtim, firstborn. And notice here we have the Sumerian Dumu, capital D-U-M-U, which means son in Sumerian, but in Akkadian, Marim. In other words, for Marduk, and then we're continuing an apposition to define Marduk in the Akkadian grammar, the son, the firstborn. Both are in the genitive here, son and reshtim. Notice the im is indicative of the genitive singular in both of these forms, and reshtu is the adjective. So the son, the firstborn, Shah Dinger Iya, line 10, of Iya. And notice here, Shah is your relative pronoun, and the Sumerian would be the capitalized en dot ki, which is Iya. So the firstborn son of Iya. And again, we talked about Iya. Also, Enki is the father of Marduk, and he is the god of wisdom, associated with water, as we said before, and creation, patron of artisans, protector of the persecuted. So we have a reference to him here, the son, that is the firstborn of Iya, Dinger in Lil. Notice that little d is giving the sign of a god, Dinger, and in Lil is the en dash lil in Sumerian, and in lilu, what we're talking about, in lil lut, meaning the functions of Enlil. And we had already then looked at Enlil in terms of being the storm god, chief god of the Sumerian pantheon, and also Enlilship unto other gods. He conferred that. That is that kind of divine authority. So then we move on in the next line, line 12, Kashat Nishi. Notice Kashat is in the Sumerian capital K-I-S with that little V on top of the S, giving it an SH sound. We have the same thing when we are working with Hebrew. So the Kishat means the over the totality. It means totality, and Nishi means mankind. Again, the totality in construct here with Nishi in Akkadian. So over the totality of mankind. Nishim or Nishi is from Nishu, meaning mankind. And then Ishi Mushum, he established for him. Now we finally get to the verb. That is for Marduk, which Iya established. Notice here, Ishemushum is from Shiamu, to establish, and Shum is your dative singular, and so we have basically a G, a preterite, third masculine singular, with the pronominal suffix in the shum, which he established for him. And then we have in Igigi, among the Igigi. In other words, established for Marduk, among the Igigi, which the Ea established for him and gave him the Enlil Ut authority. Again, we talked about the Igigi are the totality of the gods. Notice collective name for the major gods of heaven, going back to the definition we had given previously. So then we move on among the Agigi, and then we have Usharbi Ushu, which we would translate he magnified him, or made great, made him great. Notice here we have the sheen preterite, third masculine singular from rabium, to be great, plus the pronominal suffix in the shu with the mem dropping out here, which he caused him to be great. Notice we have your u prefix, your sha infix, indicative of the sheen, which is the causative stem in Akkadian. Caused him to be great. I think of the Hebrew, basically the hifil stem, like yagdil. If we were using the hifil, he caused to be great. But here we have rabium, the sheen preterite again, third masculine singular, to be great. And then we move on to Babylon, and notice we have, this is line 16, we have the Sumerian Ka, capital K, capital A, with the accent, the acute accent over the A, dot, Dinger, capital Dinger, which means God, and then we have a dot, or period, Ra, R-A, which is the name for Babylon in Assyrian, and that key is giving a place name, referring to Babylon. So Babylon, by its exalted name, he named. And notice here, Shum Shu, line 17, means its name. Notice Shumu means name, and Shum is in construct with Shu, the pronominal suffix, third masculine singular. So by its name, Tsi Ra'am, by its exalted name. And notice Tsi Ram here is an accusative and it's an adjective. So and notice the am ending is indicative of an accusative singular. So by its exalted name, he named, speaking of Babel. Notice here, Ibiu is a G preterite, in my understanding, third masculine singular from Nabu. Here we have a final U form and an N prefix. And notice in Akkadian, we had an assimilation of the second consonant where the N has gone into it. So in Bi'u became Ibbi'u, just like in Hebrew, Yitain, he will give. There we have the noon, Yintain, becoming Yitain, where the noon assimilates into the top. Same thing going on here in Akkadian. And then line 18, in Kibratim, in the world. And notice we have a capital U and a capital B, a dot, capital M, capital E, capital S, with that mark, umlaut, or what, not the umlaut, but the little b over the S, which means plurality. So it's looking at the whole world. So in, and in takes the genitive here, preposition, with the im, genitive singular, in kibratim, in the world. He caused it to be great, caused Babylon to be great. And notice here, Usha Terushu is from the root Wataru, to be great. And here we have another causative, except it's a sheen T, preterite, third masculine singular, followed by shu, the pronominal suffix third masculine singular. So he caused it to be great, from Wataru. Then we go to line 20. Inna libishu, in its interior, literally in its heart or in its midst, from libu, meaning heart. And my mind goes to Hebrew lev, meaning heart. So in its heart. And notice in is a preposition, and it takes the genitive singular here, libi, from libum. So in its heart, and shu again is your pronominal suffix, third masculine singular. In its heart. And then line 21. Sharutam daritam daritam. Sharutam daritam, that is a kingdom perpetual. Notice sharutam is the accusative ending in the am, so a kingdom, and then daritam is an adjective meaning perpetual. So a kingdom perpetual, or a perpetual kingdom, line 22, Sha Kima Shame U Etseti, 22 and 23. Sha is the relative pronoun which, Kima, as, here we have the comparative adjective taking the genitive, much like Hebrew, the kef, as Shame, again, we have the genitive singular from shamu, as heaven, and again, I'm thinking of shamayim in Hebrew, and etzetim. Eretz in Hebrew, Berushit bara Elohim et ha-shamayim beit ha'aretz. Sort of interesting, very close there. And earth, again, a genitive singular from etzetu, meaning earth, and earth. Its foundations, we continue, line 24. Ishdasha, or Ishdasha, would be the foundations of it. Notice again, it's from Ishdu, and then we have your feminine pronominal suffix in the sha. So it's the foundation, it, from Ishdu, its foundations firmly established. Shur, Shuda. So the foundations of heaven and earth firmly established, or firmly founded, maybe I should render that, then U Ki Nu Shum. This is line 26. He basically established for him. Notice again, we have a from Kanu, and I think of the Hebrew kun, to establish. And here we have a D preterite, third masculine singular, plus a dative shum, that is, he established for him. And so as we continue to move on then, line 27. In those days, notice in Numishu. Here we have the word for days. In those days, or we could even render that then. Hammurabi. Notice line 28. Hammurabi or Hammurabi. It's the king again. Rabam. Or Rubam, Rubaam becoming Rubam, the great prince or the prince. That's line 29, Hammurabi, the prince. And then the great prince, understood, I guess, here. And he is bragging on himself here. Na Adam. And notice Rubam is in the accusative singular, and na Adam means devout. So the devout prince, both are accusative singular. Then he continues to describe himself. Palich Eli, that is the one who fears the gods, is the way I would translate it myself. Notice palich is a participle, a G participle, masculine singular, from palahu, meaning to fear or to revere. So the one who fears Eli, the gods. And again, I'm understanding this as a plural genitive. The one who fears the gods. That is, he's a God-fearer, fearing the gods, reverencing the gods. The beginning of wisdom in the Hebrew Bible is the Yirat Adonai in the great Psalm 28. The chapter 28 in the book of Job, the book of Job. The bottom line of it all is to fear God. That's where wisdom is found. So here in Akkadian, we have the same thought about reverencing the gods, except in the Hebrew Bible, it's reverencing God. So the one who fears the gods, Yati. Yati means me. Line 32. Misharam ina matim. Misharam, line 32, would be justice. Here again, notice the am ending, the accusative singular, meaning justice, from misharum. So justice, ina matim. Notice in the land, matu meaning land, and im is your genitive singular with the preposition that takes the genitive in henna. So in the land, ana shupim, to, ana is the preposition to, and then we have the genitive shupim, to make visible. And by the way, this, in my understanding, is a sheen preterite infinitive, to cause, to make visible, from wapu, to make visible in other words, he's going to make visible justice in the land, in this sheen infinitive here, going with ana. And then we move on. Ragam utsinam. Notice the wicked and the evil. Ragam is the accusative singular, again with the am ending, meaning wicked. U is and, the conjunction. Sinam is evil. The wicked and the evil. Ana hulukim. That is, here we have on line 36 the preposition ana, and then we follow it by the D infinitive, hulukim, which it's from the verb halaku, meaning to destroy. So to destroy the wicked and the evil is what his law is designed to do. That is, to bring justice by destroying those that would do wicked and those that are evil. Then we move on to line 37, danuum or danum, that is the strong. Notice we have the nominative singular in the here, from danu to meaning strong. The strong in sham, the weak. This is from in shu, in sha'am becoming in shu. The strong, the weak, to Ana, line 39, Ana la chabalim, to not to do wrong, to not to do wrong, literally to not to wrong. And we could render this to not to oppress or to do wrong. This is from chabalu, to do wrong. Here again, we have an infinitive, a G infinitive from chabalu, going with ana, taking the genitive case. Again, another indicator, the im, that we're in the genitive. Kima, as, here we have the comparative use of kima like we have in Hebrew, line 40, as we have that little dinger sign, God, as Shamish. Shamish is looking at the sun god. And notice Utu, capital U, capital T, and U, is looking here at the Sumerian name for sun, the sun god. And as we said early on, Shamish is the sun god, probably a goddess, patron of truth and justice. So we're getting Shamish here related to the issue of justice, brought, and it's the sun god. As Shamish, line 41, Ana Salmat Kakadim. Ana, to Salmat Kakadim, to the black ones of head. Notice the Sumerian is capital SAG, meaning head, and then we have G6, meaning it's looking at the people, black of heads, defining the Sumerian or Akkadian people. So, and the Ana takes the genitive again, Salmat, meaning black, Salmu. It's actually in the construct with Kakadim, the construct plural, the black ones of head, Kakadim. I'm thinking of Salmavet, and for example, dark, deep darkness. I'm thinking of the Hebrew Psalm 23, Kia Lake Brigade Salmavet. And here we have the black ones related to Salmu, Salum, or and the Hebrew meaning like Selim, shadow, that which is dark. So the black ones of head, Watsim Ma. Watsim means to go out or to rise, looking at Shamish, bringing out the sun, arising. And Ma is the conjunction in, to go out or to arise, as the black one of head, as Shamish, to arise. And again, I'm understanding Watsim as the infinitive from Watsu, to go out or to arise. And then as we continue, the land, in other words, Shamish is going to illuminate the land. Notice line 43, Matim, the land, again from Matu, again we're in the genitive, to illuminate the land. And now we have, as Shamish to arise, arises, to illuminate the land. And notice, Nu Wariim is Nu Warim. It's a D infinitive in the genitive here, to illuminate or to make bright. And it's from Nawaru, to make bright or to illuminate. And then we finally come to the subject of this whole long, can I say, section. I was noticing that Meek translates it at that time, Anum and Enlil named me. And he's gone into a great discussion, literally about himself. Now we come to Anum again, line 45. And this sort of follows the Sumerian idea in some ways, I guess, of the word order here. But Anum, An is the Sumerian Anum, and Enlil. And Enlil. And remember, we talked about the two gods, Anum being the sky god again, supreme god of the pantheon, spouse of Anti, father of Adad, Enlil, Ishtar, and so forth. So here we have Anum and Elil, or Enlil with the Sumerian. And again, we talked about Elil as the storm god, the lord of the wind, chief god of Sumerian pantheon, city of god of Nippur, son of Anu. And Enlil confers Elilship onto the other gods. So now we're seeing that here, Anum and Enlil for the welfare of the people. Notice line 47. Ana Shir Nishi, for the welfare. Shir means welfare. Notice it's in construct, shirum, with nishum, and that becomes nishi in the genitive. And ana takes the genitive. For the welfare or the physical health, nishi, of the people. Nishi is from nishum, again meaning people. Here we have the genitive singular. And now we have to ubiim, that is to beam, to make good that welfare of the people. Here we have an infinitive, a D infinitive from diabu. Notice here we have your U vowel, indicative of a D infinitive, and we have the doubling of the middle radical, to beam. And the same thing, by the way, happens in the PL stem in Hebrew, where we double the middle radical. And the im here, we're looking at a genitive singular. So D infinitive from tiabo, to make good. Now we have, he finally comes to say, my name they called, to make this happen in my, can I say, the laws that I give. Notice line 48. Shumi means my name. Shumu means name, and me is the pronominal suffix, first person singular. So my name, Ibu, or Ibu, they called. And we've already seen this as a one-in form, Nabu, and they final U, weak, sort of like what we have in Hebrew, as we've said, with the pay noon verb and the final weak, can I say, syllables at the end. This is a G preterite, third masculine plural with the U. So they named my name to make this a law and make it good for the people, and gave me the authority to do this for the well-being of the people, for their physical well-being. Anum and Enlil made this possible. And so when we look at all of this, the translation, again, going back to Meek's translation, which gives it a very good translation, a wonderful translation in English. When lofty Anu, king of the Anunnaki, and Enlil, lord of heaven and earth, the determiner of the destinies of the land, determined for Marduk, the firstborn son of Enki, the Enlil functions over all mankind, made him great among the Igigi, called Babylon by its exalted name, that's Marduk, made it supreme in the world, established for him in the midst an enduring kingship, whose foundations are as firm as heaven and earth. Speaking of Marduk, at that time, Anum and Enlil named me to promote the welfare of the people. And it's interesting, as I was reading this and working through it, that in the way it's worded in Akkadian, we don't get to Anum and Enlil to the very end. But in Meek's translation, which is a wonderful, clear translation, I really love his translation, making it clear in the English, at that time, Anu and Enlil named me to promote the welfare of the people, me, Hammurabi, the devout, God-fearing prince, to cause justice to prevail in the land, to destroy the wicked and the evil, that the strong might not oppress the weak, to rise like the sun over the black-headed people, and to light up the land. So that's sort of a summary translation that was wonderfully done by Meek. I would like to say, vocabulary-wise, we might say here, Sarum means exalted, an adjective. Sharum means king. Belum means Lord. Shamu means heaven or sky. Ersetu means earth. Shiamu means to fix a decree. Shimat, as we saw, means destiny or fate from Shimu. And then we have Matu, meaning land. And of course, Anna, for. Marduk is the name of the god. Maru, meaning son. Reshtu, meaning first. Shah, relative pronoun of. Then we have Nishi, meaning mankind, from Nishu, I should say, Nishu, mankind. Shim, meaning to place or establish. I think of the Hebrew, sim, middle weak verb in Hebrew. And then we have Rabbi to be great or to magnify or make great. Of course, Babylon. And then we have a name, Shumu, Shem in Hebrew. We have Tserum, which means exalted. Nabu, meaning to name. We have here another vocabulary, Wataru, to be great or numerous. Libum, meaning heart. And think of the Hebrew, lev. We have we have Sharutu, meaning kingdom, and Daritu, meaning perpetual. And we have Kima as related, like we said, to Keh in Hebrew, at least similar preposition. Then we have its foundation, Ishdashu, Ishdum, meaning foundation. We have the verb kanu, meaning to establish. And here we have relating in Hebrew, kun, to establish. We have Rabu, meaning prince, Nadu, meaning devout, and Palahu, meaning to fear, Ilum, meaning God, Misharu, meaning justice, similar word in Hebrew, Misharu. And then we have the Wapu, meaning to make visible, Ragam, wicked, Sinam, evil, and Halaku, to destroy, Danum, meaning strong, in Shum, in Shum, meaning weak, Habalu, meaning to oppress or to do wrong, and Salmu, meaning dark, Kakadu, meaning head, and then we have Watsu, meaning to rise, and then we saw Nawaru, meaning to illuminate, and Shirum, the well-being, Nishu, people, and then Tiabu, to make good, and Shum, meaning name, Shumu, I should say, and Nabu again, to name. So those are some of the vocabulary that are involved in this prologue. I hope this has been helpful. I've enjoyed going through it. I think working through each word grammatically is one of my own passions in language study. I do it in Hebrew, like I said, grammar. If anyone's interested, again, on my YouTube channel, Dr. Gary Stats, I do Hebrew grammatical analysis and trying to analyze each word grammatically from a historical perspective, as well as try to do some comparative Semitics. But at any rate, thank you for listening. I hope this has been helpful.